At the core of the pathologization of white nationalism, is its association with the specter of National Socialism as a unique and ultimate evil. It's simply not possible to avoid the association in good faith without damaging the conviction of your position. It simply is possible. It simply is. I have made the arguments at work and haven't lost work. I've made the arguments in school and haven't suffered. It is totally possible. And I do it, and the practitioners of Go Free do it all the time. The only solution to this, says Joel, that he can come up with, if you want the white race to survive, is the rehabilitation of National Socialism. There is no other solution. Stop wasting time. Sad. Absolutely sad. He's the one that is, with these kind of ignorant sputterings, he's the one getting attention in these circles. He's the one really demonstrating that these circles that will talk about this stuff and will pass it around, and the kind of people that follow are not the kind of people that are seriously interested in recapturing our destiny. These are people playing. These are people having a good time thinking about things. That's very different from actually changing your life, the lives of those around you, the school curriculum, the judge and the findings in Canada for whether or not Go Free is dangerous for children, and on and on. They're not interested in doing any of that. Replicable and scalable. So these are people who are just having a bit of leisure. They're recreating with this. That's why they have such a visceral response to actual success that doesn't look like the game they're playing. The game is supposed to look like this. Remember, I've told you about arguments that I've had in these circles over the years where I would say to these people, what if we could stop our victimization? And there is no talk about any of this fanciful stuff that you talk about. None of that is part of it. There's no marching and taking over the government and none of that happens. What if we ended our victimization without any of that? And they screw their faces up with disgust. They can't make an argument of arguments of how to get to the things so that they could, the different tiers to do this, to do that, to do that, to do this, so that you could get to this wish list that they have. They can't make any of that art. They just like the appeal of it. They like the play of it. And so when you deviate to something real as an adult, they get very irritated. And you're seeing it here. I wanted to respond to this post in particular, writes Keith, because it contains most of the common arguments from the self-styled National Socialists around this topic. So it's an opportunity to lay out my alternative case. First off, Joel says not identifying as a National Socialist requires compromises upon racial loyalism. I think it's quite the opposite. National Socialism was not a generic pro-white movement, but a German chauvinist movement bound up with Nordicist racial theory. Central to its project was the planned ethnic cleansing of tens of millions of Slavs and the destruction of white countries like Poland, Ukraine, and Russia. This is not some Hollywood meme history. Hitler expresses his desire to establish Lebensraum in the East in Mein Kampf, in his unpublished second book, and in his Table Talks. In the Table Talks, Hitler expresses his desire to keep the population of Russia capable of nothing but hard work under coercion, just literate enough to read road signs and serve the German occupiers. He says his plan is to make southern Ukraine an exclusive German colony. And then he shares a quote of Hitler's there. Do we need to rehabilitate, writes Keith, that to get people to support nationalism in 25? The strongest, most patriotic white countries today are found in Eastern Europe. Now, going all the way back decades, They were saying the same sort of nationalism in the East. And there were others as well, Sam Dixon and others, who warned about ethno-nationalism and it being problematic for our people because it's a form, I articulate it as a form of anti-whiteism, and has been used against us to destroy our people. I mean, if you can't figure that out from the world wars, you're a special kind of dumb, and you probably should be in a cage in the kennel. I know nationalists doing excellent work in many of them. Must we force them to change their opinions on German imperialism over their lands? But let me also jump in to make sure that you understand what I'm saying just there very briefly. And that is that we cannot let ethno-nationalism as anti-whiteism guide our resistance to a global and international problem. We have to celebrate our, and what I've said all along. People have asked, well, what flag do we wave? Your country's flag. You are a proud patriot of your country. It's one of many countries that the white race makes. The white people on the other side of the invisible line, they are your brothers and sisters as much as the ones on this side. But you are a patriot of your country. When you go out into the streets, it's patriotism for your country. It's one of ours. Where is it in the world? Where is it? Don't ask me, Jason, which particular country are you talking about? Because I don't need to tell you. Every Western country is inside of every white person because it is a consequence of our projection of our instincts onto the world around us. We have various hues, and we love all of the different hues, and that's why a focus on us as a global people with many countries ensures that our variations will not only persist, but they will become increasingly vivid. We will celebrate those variations. That is how we are going to recapture our destiny. The ethno-nationalism in the form that most people understand it, the form that was afoot when we have had our heads rammed against each other, that will be ineffective. Even if in one country here or there, a right-wing ethno-nationalist party is able to come to power, all of the others will be stirred up against it. You need a cure for the propaganda that is anti-whiteism, and that's what we provide you here in Going Free. That's the only way this can happen.